Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the McFarlane DC Multiverse, The Last Night on Earth, Collect to Build Bane figure. This is from a mini-series of Batman comics called The Last Night on Earth. There were 3 books in that series. In order to get Bane, you have to buy all 4 figures in the wave. We've got Scarecrow with Bane's torso, Wonder Woman with Bane's arms, Batman with Bane's hands and head, and then Omega with Bane's legs. So I spotted these figures at Target today, $24.99 each, but their website has them for $19.99, so I was able to have the customer service price match them, so I got them for $19.99 each. Very fair price if you ask me. They actually had 2 full sets, plus 2 extra Batman and Omega figures. So let's check out the packaging real quick. First of all, we have Scarecrow, and you can see Bane's large torso. These packs are very heavy. On the back side, Scarecrow on top of Bane. Here's a demonstration of how Bane is built. Here's the part you get in this package, and here's the rest of the wave. Next, we have Wonder Woman. She comes with Bane's massive arms. You can see the second figure on the back, pretty much the same type of stuff. Then we have Batman here in a straitjacket, Bane's hands and head. Third figure, similar type of stuff on the back. And last but not least, we've got Omega, Bane's legs, the 4th figure. Similar type of stuff on the back. So I have read there have been some issues with Bane as far as his legs connecting in properly. I've also read that if you heat him up, it might work better. So here's a hoping mine works great. Let's go ahead and open him up and check him out. And I mentioned this figure is from the Batman Last Night on Earth storyline. Here's my entire collection of the Last Night on Earth comics. We've got both covers A and B of all 3 books. Alright, now that we have these pieces out of the package, here they are all laid out. So let's go ahead and assemble Bane piece by piece, starting with the first of the 4 figures. So let's start with figure number 1. That figure is Scarecrow. He's going to come with Bane's torso, which is kind of amusing, as the Scarecrow is just a torso as well. Figure number 2 is Wonder Woman. She's going to come with Bane's 2 arms. Let's go ahead and attach them to the torso. So here's how our Bane looks so far. So far so good. The arms fit in there very tightly. The shoulders move very well so far. Everything's great, no quality control issues. And then Batman in the straitjacket is the 3rd of 4 figures. He comes with Bane's hands and his head. Let's go and attach them. And here's our Bane so far. The head and the hands fit on very tightly. They move fine. No problem so far. Everything's good to go. A little bit nervous about the legs. And here's Omega. He's the 4th figure in the wave. He comes with Bane's legs. So here's the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's see how well they attach. So I took Bane's torso area and decided to mess with the legs. His right leg seems awful. It just does not connect at all. I mean, look at that. No resistance. It doesn't connect for shit. I think I can push it in even further, and that's what I'm trying to do. But I'm just going to heat up the legs and see if I can shove them all the way in there and see how that goes. The other leg here, it does get a little bit of resistance. I can't quite push it on there. So I know if I force it, it'll probably go on there. But let me go ahead and heat up those legs and see what that does for me. Alright, so I heated up the legs. I went ahead and shoved on there as hard as I could. And the figure is mostly cooled down now. So I'm not going to try to pull them off, but I'm just going to see how easily they come off as we do the rest of the review. But you know what? First, he's a heavy figure, and at least he's not popping off with complete ease. So far so good, but I don't expect to be happy with the way this works. So far I am. They haven't come off yet, but I've been pretty careful with him. I'll try to handle him like normal and see how that goes. Maybe I'm being super paranoid about the leg thing. Maybe not. I pretty much unanimously read online that there are some serious opportunities with his legs. So knowing that, going into this, I was able to take every precaution, heat him up, try to push him in there as best I can. I was really looking forward to this Build-A-Figure Bane. Don't get me wrong, he looks a little gray, a little sickly. He's not exactly my Bane, but he is massive, he is huge, and he's more or less in Bane's sort of normal look, except for his gray flesh. Which is kind of odd, as he didn't quite look like that in the comics. He definitely had a peach flesh tone to him. So let's go ahead and look at the figure. Starting with his head here, he's got that traditional sort of luchador mask. He's got the bat symbol on the face in the white. Eyes appear to be somewhat red. Pretty cool on a mostly black and white figure. It's got that line going through the top, a little bit of stitching around it. The texture on his body is great. All the veins, all the different texturing. The color is not just solid gray. We got light gray, some off-white yellow, some dark gray. A lot of blending there. It does look very good. He does strike me as a little bit sort of fat looking. He's not really fat, he's just huge. He's got this black wife beater on. Once again, a lot of texture on there as well. You can see some of his venom tubes on his wrist. Gloves, very strong, very intimidating. He's got a little hole in the back to attach Scarecrow. Large belt. He's got some different items attached here. Cargo pants on both sides. Red belt in the middle. Overall, he looks really cool. Pleased so far. Just please don't fall apart on me. Notice he got shin armor on one side, knee armor on the other, some combat boots. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at the figure, his assembly, and some of his opportunities, now let's check out his height. From bottom to top, he's sitting at about 8.5 inches tall, which can translate to about 21.5 centimeters. Now let's check out his articulation. Starting with his head here, it can rotate from side to side. Can look up and down about that much. You can tilt his head from side to side as well, give you a nice amount of personality. Shoulders on a ball joint, then go out considerably more than 90 degrees, up, down, around, all that good stuff. No bicep cut, single jointed elbows. They go in about that far, not too much. They do have rotation as well. His wrist here, I'm having more problem with the wrist popping out than the leg so far. Can rotate around like so, and it's also going to be hinged. His torso here, he's got sort of ball joint on here, can rotate around, can also go forward and back. Shirt's made of soft goods, not obstructing that very much. His legs down here, now they're probably going to pop out when I'm testing this, we'll see. So, the part that I'm concerned about here, yes, it can rotate. Go forward and back, really not very much. Yeah, his shorts are a little bit soft here, but you can sort of see they're trying to pop off. I mean, there we go. Take two, action. So let's go ahead and try that with his other leg here. So it really cannot go forward and back. There's no articulation here at the hip. Yes, it can rotate here. We'll check out his knees. Very tight here, even though I did heat up the legs. Big and bulky. Nope, his wrist just popped out. Take three, action. So back to his leg here. It cannot go forward and back at all. There's really no articulation here at the hip. Sure, it can rotate. And then looking at his knee, very tight here, very big and bulky figure, kind of hard to grip him properly. The knee here, looks like it's going to go back about that far, not too bad. And then his ankle here, it's going to go back about that far. Once again, very tight. I'm able to hold him like so. He's not falling apart. That's something. Goes forward about that far. There is a very nice ankle tilt here and toe articulation. So for me, my right thigh coming out super easily, and both the wrists. I mean, you just try to hinge this thing, move it around a little bit, it pops right out. And I did heat up both the hands, made the pegs soft, so I could shove it all the way in there, and it's still coming right out, and that goes for both the hands. I mean, it just crumbles apart. McFarlane, how could you guys let this happen? So if you want a really cool Bane to just stand there, look badass, this is your thing. If you want to play with or even pose this guy, he is going to fall apart. I've seen a lot of people suggesting to glue his thigh area together, and that would help the figure, but you do lose the thigh rotation. Very frustrating, for sure. Now let's get a little bit rougher with him and just see how well the legs do. So rotating around, try to take the knee, bend it, comes right off. Try to take this knee and bend it, comes right off. Take his wrist, rotate around, it just rotates right out of there. And like I said, I heated this part up so this would become soft and this would stay hard. I could just shove it all the way in there and I let it cool down and it's exactly the same. Sure, I can take his legs, I can shove them right back on and they do stay. But God, did they miss the mark on connecting those things. I mean, look at this, just awful. So I will say, I just kept pushing a leg in and pushing it in, pushing it in. I sort of heard it click a little bit. Made me think the peg got all the way in there and sat properly. So looking at it a little further, he does have a little bit of forward and back motion, and you can sort of, probably hard to tell with the camera, but there's an area under his soft shorts that does go forward and back, but barely does it at all. And they're sitting in there a lot nicer than before. I'm sure I can pull them right out, but I can see underneath there is another piece that does go forward and back under his shorts. So if you get it locked in, it stays at least a little bit better. I can take this guy, I can shake him up and down, and he is a very heavy figure. It's not coming out, and that's with my weaker leg. So mess with it. Try to get it popped in there as best you can. It doesn't come out as easy. Let me try moving the knee like that and see what happens. The knees are very tight, just so you know. So it does come back out. But if you get in there just right, you can see the area underneath does move with it. So it does catch, but I feel like the sort of ring should have been a little bit fatter inside there. I cannot get these guys to connect in properly to save my life. Now take Scarecrow and attach him to Bane and see if we can recreate the cover of The Last Night on Earth #2. So Bane is going to have this peg hole on his back where Scarecrow can attach. Scarecrow here is going to be draped over Bane's shoulders, and he has this little peg that comes out of his stomach area. At first I was very confused what this was, but just looking at Bane, you're able to tell it'll insert to this and secure him on there. Now, I must confess, I've not read The Last Night on Earth, but I assure you, it is going to be the next book I read when I finish reading Doomsday Clock. So I don't really know what Scarecrow's doing to Bane, but it sure looks like he's poisoning him or controlling him. I assume that's what's going on, but they're definitely a creepy pair to say the least. Here's Bane with Scarecrow attached to his back. Now, my Scarecrow's fingers seem to be all warped. Some hot water should revert them back to the way they're supposed to be. One thing I don't like is his thumb is pointing the opposite direction, and it's about the only finger that's not articulated. You can't fix that and rotate it. Pretty odd. He's got the four fingers going down and his thumb going up. It's the same on both hands. I can definitely fix these sort of crooked fingers, but there's nothing I can do about this. It is weird. It doesn't look right, and it's not nearly accurate to the cover. Here's the cover of Batman: The Last Night on Earth, Book 2. As you can see, all 5 of Scarecrow's fingers or syringes are going downward over his shoulders. That goes for both hands. Very frustrating they didn't make it look like this. Here's Scarecrow on Bane's back, replicating the cover of Batman: The Last Night on Earth, Book 2. And I will say, looking at this book, his skin is not as gray as the figure. A very odd choice. I mean, look at his hands here. You can definitely see the peach flesh colored. And throughout his body, you can definitely see some peach on there as well. I don't think the figure had to be quite as gray as it is. Looking forward to seeing some people repaint this guy into flesh colors. And looking inside the book, here's Bane with Scarecrow on top approaching Alfred. Bane definitely has a lot more of a fleshy color to him than the figure. And here on the next page, same thing. I see a flesh tone, a lot more than that gray there. And here's Omega coming out. Bane, Hail Omega, Scarecrow, Halo Mega. They both work for him. So the biggest flaw in this Bane figure is obviously the fact that his hands and legs pop out super easy. Another thing I really don't like is the gray skin color. It should have been fleshier. I would have definitely enjoyed it more like that. And another thing I don't like is the fact that he really effectively has no way to move his leg forward and back. I mean, this doesn't count, and it doesn't stay in any of those poses. Yes, there is some little bit of effort at the area inside there. Let me pop the leg off. This area inside can move a little bit, but it doesn't really help you that much. I mean, look, it can go back pretty far, but it's completely obstructed from this sort of soft goods shorts here. Horrible execution, good intentions, but a fail nonetheless. One of McFarlane's first big fails in this line, if you ask me. One of the first things I wanted to do with this Bane figure was take this Dark Knight's Metal Rebirth Batman and have Bane holding him over his head, which you're able to do. And I really wanted Bane to be able to hold one knee up like he's about to break his back. But that is just simply not an option. This is the closest you can get to Bane's iconic pose of holding a knee and getting ready to smash Batman's back over it. You just simply cannot move these legs up at all to do that. It is very frustrating. Now let's check them out, compared with other action figures, starting off with some more McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here he is, next to the rest of this wave of McFarlane DC Multiverse figures from Batman The Last Night on Earth. Here he is, next to some other Bat Rogues, and they're more or less normal type looks. They're not their classic looks, but they are more or less their iconic looks. Harley Quinn, she's not from the comics. She almost looks like she's from the animated show, although her packaging states she's from the comics. It's kind of hard to believe. Joker here is definitely from the comics. He's more or less in his normal look, except for the redness around his eyes. Bane here, he's in his normal outfit, but the coloring is all wrong. And then Deathstroke, although he's from Arkham Origins, is very similar to his comic look. What I really want to see is some more iconic comic Batman rogues. I hope they revisit Bane, give us a Nightfall version. I want to see Two-Face, Penguin, Black Mask, Catwoman, Mr. Freeze, the whole 9 yards, done in a normal style, but by McFarlane. Here he is, with the only other Build-A-Figure that McFarlane has made so far in their DC Multiverse line. This is Merciless. We know the next one is going to be the Dark Father. No problems with Merciless coming together. His legs attach at the thighs. No problem. Never had any issue with them coming apart. Then, here he is next to another oversized McFarlane DC Multiverse figure. This is Devastator. He was a single release, and he's not nearly as big as his Bane figure, but he's also very big and bulky. And you know what? He's got these soft shorts. The legs move just fine. A little bit obstructed, but he can do all the stuff I'd like Bane to be able to do. They really missed the mark on the way this Bane connects. And here's the entire McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. So far, I've got a total of 59 different figures if you count all the variants and 2 vehicles, and I am fully caught up at this moment. And now let's check him out, next to some other Bane figures. Here he is, with all the different Bane figures I have from DC Direct and DC Collectibles. And here, next to a Storm Collectibles Bane. Then, next to some Mattel Bane figures. And here, next to a couple of Kenner Bane figures. Then, next to a Mafex Bane figure. And here, next to a Yamato Bane. Here he is, next to all the different Bane figures that I have. I believe I have all the Bane figures in the 6 and 7 inch scales. Here he is, next to a custom zombie, Trog, and Bird. These were Bane's henchmen in Nightfall. And now let's check him out, next to some action figures from different various companies, to see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix him with. Here he is, with some of his McFarlane Toys brothers, all 7 inch scale. And here, next to some DST or Diamond Select toys. Then, with some DC Direct and DC Collectibles figures. And here, next to some NECA figures. Then, next to some Mattel wrestling figures. And here he is, next to some Mezco 1/12 cloth soft goods action figures. Then, next to some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures. And here, next to some Mafex figures. Then, with some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. And finally, here he is, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, this is a gorgeous looking Bane figure, but he lacks in functionality. His sculpt is fantastic, the texturing, the paint, although I would have preferred a little more of a flesh color, he still looks great. His articulation, not so good. It's absolutely horrible in the hip area. Not too bad in the arms, but the fact that his stuff just doesn't stay connected ruins the entire figure. I'd like to play with, or at least be able to display my figures without getting extremely frustrated. This guy comes with no accessories, so no real points there. So overall, for to rate this guy, if it was based off looks alone, I would give him a 7.5 out of 10 easily. But the fact that he just doesn't function right, I'm going to have to give this guy a 5 out of 10, and that sucks. I was looking so forward to this Bane. I was really hoping I'd be giving him an 8 out of 10. But they just messed up his legs and his hands so bad they just don't connect in there properly. And frankly, that ruins the entire collect and connect aspect. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add it to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will talk to you guys real soon.